Okay, so here's your last day standard run. Your motion caused that because you were moving across the face of that jump. That was the hard part. A lot of people had trouble with that, those weaves, and getting there or getting the dog to do them right. That was nice. Silly girl. I don't know why she did that. Sometimes I forget she's really young. I need to remind myself that. That was a nice run. Okay. So, really the only way that you could have had a better time to cross is if you let out a little bit. Like maybe let out to here, kind of even with the end of the chute, and that might have helped you a little bit. But so what happens here is she's coming around, you know, her path here, but you're just moving this way. You do sort of have your outside arm up, but not really super noticeable. Now looks like she's coming to the jump, and you're starting to rotate, but you're still moving this way. And motion is always going to be the #1 overriding cue that most dogs will read. And you're still moving this way. So the thing to do would have been to try to lead out farther to the chute. And then as soon as you release her, just come over this way, kind of like you did. You have to keep your arm up to make sure you support this jump. But you want to do your front cross right on this stanchion, instead of drifting all the way across the face of this jump and then turning. So I let out with my dogs and my crosses were still late, so it was just a tricky spot to do that. Really the only other thing to do was just to do rear across the weaves, and so you could have come in really deep into this pocket so that you could really drive them to the weaves, so that you're when you do go behind them, your line is pretty shallow like this, instead of getting to the weaves at the same time and then you have to cut over like that. I saw some people do that and that worked pretty well. I think the rest of this goes really well. There's only really one thing I saw that I was going to comment on. I probably wouldn't have waited here so long, because while she was in the tunnel, you could have come up to here, like just on the landing side of the double, and she still totally would take the double. You probably could even come like up to here, and she would still take the double if your arm was up. So you try to think about when she's in tunnels like that, it's a chance for you to sort of get ahead. And this part was, I mean, you did it really well, but this part was sort of tricky because the handlers had to come around this jump to get that line. And so if you were even with your dog, it was easier to cue this jump, you know, because when they're coming towards the panel and you're even with them, you're still just moving forward. So You probably could have ditched her in the tunnel a little bit and gotten a little bit farther ahead. And you layered that, and I'll give you my little layer speech. So I don't ever layer, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't. It's just a decision, sort of a personal decision. But the reason I don't layer is because if this jump was next, right now, and you're looking at her, and I think you even say her name here, you are cueing this jump. Well, you're also sort of cueing this jump with your motion. But my point being, if this jump was the next jump, how is this picture that you're presenting right now different than what you're doing here when the next jump is this jump? Does that make sense? And for my dogs, I want it to be a very different looking picture because I don't want there to be any confusion on my dog's part. So if that doesn't make sense, let me know and I can explain it better in person. Now, my guess is she went around the tire because she was sort of looking at the tunnel. And I don't know if this is it or not, but your path was just slightly curved here before you kind of straightened it back out. So you may have pushed her off of the straight line a little bit, and then she saw the tunnel. I don't know, or it could just be because she's like a young dog, and that's what they do. This part, use your outside arm, and that's really nice. But your motion is a little inappropriate because you're still just really moving in this direction, and you really should move in this direction when she commits to this jump. And when does she commit to that jump? Probably a stride before she takes off. So here she's lifted off and she's in the air, and you're still just kind of going this way. So everything was great except right here where you are, I would have moved this way instead of continuing up here and then kind of looping. And then you have to call her off that. See how you're still forward? Yeah. That was nice though, rear cross. Okay, and that was a good end.